Year after year, since I was small, I knew that at the beginning of every year, I need to have my New Year's resolutions ready. And I don't know, somehow everybody was doing it. It's some sort of tradition, it's some sort of belief that we have to do this. In all those years, my New Year's resolutions never worked out, and I finally figured out why, and I finally figured out ways to make my New Year's resolutions more productive and more achievable. One of those reasons is that you created them out of tradition. At the beginning of the year, you have to write your New Year's resolutions, and most of the time where we go wrong is we want to only write new goals. And what I realize is goals that kind of come from the heart, goals that come up from the point of need, those goals that you actually made throughout the passing year, where you are like, I realize I need a car because of 1, 2, 3, and there was that burn in your heart, and there was that urge, that determination, and it's a goal that you started pursuing from a point of need because you see that you need this thing and you are willing to do whatever it takes to get it done. You're already saving for it, you're already making efforts for it because you know what, you know for it to happen, you need to do something about it. That kind of goal comes from a point of need compared to a goal where you sit down and you're like, let me think about it. What would I like to have this year? You know, the fact that you have to start thinking about it is like you're creating that thing, you're creating something that you would like to have. You know, it would be so nice to buy a house this year, it would be so nice to go to school this year, it would be so nice to do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And most of the time we're making these goals from a point of excitement. There's that emotion, that feeling, that freshness, that newness we feel at the beginning of the year where we're so hopeful and we feel like everything is possible. And we write those goals down, and they're not from a point of need, they're just from a point of it's exciting, it'll be so nice to achieve 1, 2, 3. I feel like we have to pay caution to, you know, letting go of the things that we're already working on just because it's a new year. I would advise that take those goals that you already had, those goals that were born from a point of need, those goals that were burning in your heart. You saw that I need this, I want this. Take them, write them on your New Year's resolutions. Continue working on them. You don't have to be setting new goals from scratch. Some goals can be new, yes, and some goals can be the goals that you were already working on, the goals that you already had. You can continue planning them for throughout the year, how you're going to achieve them and how you look forward to making them come into place. That is our first reason. The second reason is because these resolutions were made from a point of the traditions of making New Year's resolution. As time goes, it gets harder and harder to maintain them because as time goes, that excitement fades away and we get carried away by life. And because they were not born from a point of need, a point of I need this thing in my life, point of determination of some sort that you are pushed into from your heart, you can kind of forget them, you know, to the point where one day you open your book and you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot that I said this year I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. So you can try this instead. Maybe have a little diary, some sort of journal where you tell yourself at the end of each month, you write down the efforts that you made towards your goals and you write down the efforts that you're about to do next for your goals. That way, it kind of feeds these goals and keeps them alive, because other than that, if you don't do that, you get carried away by life and you forget that you actually said this year you're going to do a certain thing. This year you're going to buy your mom this kind of gift, or this year you're gonna take your friend out, whatever it is that it may be. If it was not born from a point of need, like mostly for those new goals, try to keep them alive by revisiting them. Revisit your notes where you wrote all these resolutions and sort of record your progress and what you're planning to do next. The third reason is your resolutions are vague and they are unrealistic. Like I said from the beginning, you know, most of these resolutions, we're making them from a point of it's a new year, I need to make resolutions, and we just write down what would be nice to get this year, what would be nice to work on this year. They're not born from a point of need. Let's say, for example, you're saying this year you want to build a hotel, and you know what? Sometimes you're just thinking too big. You're writing something down that is too big for you because you haven't actually sat down to measure your goal. to say, how am I going to do this? What are the costs? What efforts does this goal demand from me? How possible is this? Or, when you sit down and actually do the planning, that's when you can actually think, maybe this goal can be maybe a 3 years goal. Or you know what, it's okay to make goals that you start this year and you just, decide by the end of the year, I want to be at this part of this goal, but maybe it's a goal that you want to achieve in a long-term situation. So sitting down and making goals, like before you write them down and say, okay, this year I want to achieve 1, 2, 3. It would help to actually sit down, measure everything, like what it demands from you, energy, time, finances, everything. So maybe try this instead. For every goal that you are about to set or you're writing down on your journal for this year, measure what kind of effort it needs from you to achieve that goal this year. What kind of financial support it will need from you, what kind of time it will need from you. Measure how much it's going to cost you, and are you going to be able to give in all of that, all of whatever it is that this goal demands from you. So that's one thing that can help you actually make goals that you can actually achieve. It also makes the goals more clear to you, because sometimes when you're just saying, for example, like I said, I'm going to build a hotel or build a house or whatever it is, that goal is so vague to you because you haven't actually thought it through, like when, how, all of those things. So yeah, that's point number 3. Reason number 4, they're based on the all or nothing mindset. One little mistake or one little give in, one little setback tips you over, and there goes your goal in the bin. Deleted, gone, buried. You're done with that goal for the rest of the year. Maybe you told yourself, this year I'm not gonna eat junk food. And it happens that, you just saw that ice cream and you just felt like, I would like to eat this. Or maybe a friend took you out and said, let's have ice cream, and you couldn't resist it. You didn't say, I don't want to eat ice cream. I'm not eating these things this year. And once you do it, you feel like, it's over. And now you go back to the mentality and the habit of eating junk food again. No, make space for yourself to make those mistakes. Try that instead. Like when you're making a goal, like that one, for example, make room for failure. Not that you should intend to fail because, I made such a big room, so I'm just gonna use that room. No, say maybe once a month I'm going to have one cheat meal. Make that kind of room to say, I'm slowly going to transition into this. Try as hard as you can, but if you fail, if you fall, rise back up and continue with your goal and watch yourself get better and better until you are the person that you want to be, until you lose that weight that you're trying to lose. Also forgive yourself. If you had such an important goal or of any sort and you failed to achieve it, go back on it. Even if by the end of the year you didn't finish it, continue with that goal. That's the point I was saying, that continue with your goals. We don't have to throw away our old goals when the new year starts and then we create new ones. We're making a bad history of failing goals, not achieving our goals. Another point that I want to say is maybe make measurable goals. If, for example, you're somebody who's saying, I want to jog every morning, Monday to Friday. If one of those days come up around and you kind of feel like, I can't get myself to do it, cut the goal a little bit short. Compromise the goal a little instead of throwing it away completely. Maybe say, I'm going to do 4 jumps inside the house. At least you're doing something. And if you can't do 4 jumps, what can you do? Make sure that you do something, even if it's so small, so that you don't fall back into the mentality of not doing any sort of exercise at all. Reason number 5, they're extracted from external pressures. Maybe at your workplace, everybody, I don't know, maybe everybody has their own house. They built a house or bought a house and you're the only one who doesn't have their own house or something of the sort. So you're kind of feeling that pressure, that thing where you feel like you're the only one who's behind with something. Making goals out of pressure takes away the fun and the pleasure from achieving your goals, because you're not really doing it for yourself. in that moment you're doing it just to fit in. And you know, the thing about pressure is you'll find out that now you're making bad decisions because you're not really thinking for yourself. You're not thinking straight. You want to hurry, you want to rush, you just want to get out of that box where you feel like you're all alone and you're the only one who's left behind, and you kind of feel like everyone's eyes is on you. I know that kind of feeling. So don't make decisions from that point, because you might find yourself taking loans or like, you know, going that extra mile where, you know, you're actually injuring yourself and you're gonna have to pay for those decisions all your life. All you wanted to do was to fit in. All you want to do was to catch up to everybody, but now you're creating more and more problems. What I advise that you could do, maybe try this. Ask yourself, do I want this thing? I know that I'm under the pressure to get this thing because everybody has it, but when I'm genuinely thinking about my life, about my growth, do I want this thing for myself? Do I feel like I'm ready to work towards this goal for myself? Ask yourself these questions, and if you do want this thing for yourself, then do it for yourself and for nobody else, and do it at your own pace and do it for yourself. And you know, there's that thing where when you're doing things out of pressure, sometimes you're dragging your feet. It's not really from your heart. You're not really doing this for yourself because you're so clouded by what everybody else is thinking about you. Reason number 6, you don't have a plan. If you're trying to lose weight, if your goal is to lose weight this year, how much weight do you want to lose? What are you going to do to lose this weight? By what time must you have lost that weight? If you're trying to build that house, yes, I know I'm saying it too much, but it's a relevant idea that I feel like it's a good example. If your goal is to build a house, where do you want to build it? How much do you expect it to cost you? When are you going to do it? How are you going to do it? So these are the questions we have to ask ourselves at the beginning of each goal when we are making a goal that we're going to work on for the year. Try to divide this goal into achievable goals. Are you planning to build the house once? Or are you planning to start with the foundation and do this and then the roofing? Like, what is your plan? What is your idea? How are you planning to achieve this goal? That is basically the planning part. How? If you're saying, this is my goal, the question I'm giving you today that you should answer yourself. How are you going to do that within 2025? And that brings us to reason number 7, timestamps. When must you have built that house? Every goal needs a timestamp. Have you ever heard of like maybe a holiday that doesn't have a deadline? Like, everything has a deadline. That's why we get up, that's why we go to work, that's why we push ourselves to be on time, because there is a deadline and we need to meet that deadline. So do the same for your goals. You don't want to wake up one day and you open that page for New Year's resolutions and oh my gosh, you're like overwhelmed because it's a lot to take in and it's so many goals and you didn't plan how to achieve them, when you must achieve them, and one day you open up the page and you know it's impossible to achieve all of them at once. So go ahead and make those timestamps. Decide, when do I want to have done this goal and when do I want to have done the other goals. It kind of gives you the pressure to stand up and do something. If I say, for example, I want a 5-figure job and I just sit down, this year I want to be working a 5-figure job, like no deadline, no nothing, I'm going to feel like I have so much free time. I'm going to sit on that goal because it doesn't have a deadline. So create your timestamps to say, by July I want to be having that 6-figure job, 5-figure job, whatever it is that you're making a goal for. And go for it, because you put that deadline. You're gonna try to do everything it takes to achieve that goal before that time. A year is such a huge amount of time, such that you can't just write all your goals and they all don't have a timestamp. The year is going to end and you're gonna find out that you didn't achieve any of those goals. So make the right decision. Put a timestamp to each and every goal that you make. Thank you for watching this video. Those are the 7 reasons why your New Year's resolutions might not work. But I know it's not all in black and white. Sometimes you still do achieve those goals even though you didn't do thorough planning. But it's best to be safe. It's best to do the right thing. It's best to work on your goals. And if you like this video, please leave a thumbs up and leave a comment, say something, give us a tip. How do you make sure that your New Year's resolutions are a success at the end of the year? Subscribe if you're not a subscriber. I'll give you a moment. Thank you for subscribing if you subscribed. See you on the next video. Remember, stay genuine.